Hello everybody, I am Corvus Bruxu Luggenikos and this is Starting Our Solitary. Today we're talking about what we find liberating about being pagan, and here in this video we'll try to answer that question and another question that is how I think the question should have been formulated, which is what I find or what you find liberating about being a witch. Why? Because as a witch, I am a polytheist, but I'm not exclusively pagan. I work with the devil, the folk devil, and the church devil as well. I work with land spirits, which aren't necessarily pagan, meaning that they don't respond to a pagan mythology. I work with spirits of the deceased and also saints, so not necessarily pagan. Mainly what I find liberating about being pagan, to be honest, is the freedom of Christian religion or Abrahamic religion, the freedom from Abraham, because when you're in an Abrahamic context, maybe not if you're an atheist or whatever, but if you're in a spiritual context that is close to Christianity or to an Abrahamic religion, it's difficult to argue against the morality they claim. It's difficult to argue against concepts such as sin. And honestly, I find liberating to be free of all of that. Meaning that I don't have to justify if I'm being promiscuous, for example, because promiscuity to me it's not a sin, and it's anything similar to a sin. I don't have to justify being vengeful if somebody hurts me, because I don't consider vengeance itself to be a bad trait. I think it's something that sometimes brings peace of mind, and I've tried, and I'm not ashamed of saying it. And this is not completely true, and I will elaborate on this right now. When they threaten me with hell, it's so liberating to say I don't believe in hell. And when they expect you to be an atheist, it's like, no, it's not that I haven't experienced the divine, is that I've experienced the divine and it is not your God. I have experienced the other world and it's not your heaven or your hell. That is super liberating to me. That freedom of not having to look for an explanation to why I behave the way I behave, for why I have sex or don't have sex, for why I take revenge or don't take revenge, for why I enjoy my life or don't enjoy my life, for why I commit blasphemy or don't commit blasphemy. That's very liberating. So yeah, about being pagan, having a moral that is constructed by myself, by my standards, well, also my religion's standards, but I have chosen my religion. I haven't been raised in it, so I chose a religion that already had the values, let's be redundant, that I found valuable. So I'm digressing a lot, but basically what I wanted to say is that I have my own morals. I don't have even the slightest amount of fear of hell, because I simply don't believe in it, or I should say I believe our other world depends on the pacts and relationships that we had in life, which means that if you follow Christian morals, you can expect a heaven if you are really committed to them and live by them, and you can expect a hell if you break them regularly, don't repent, and don't follow the system that is put to you to avoid that consequence. I have never been a real Christian. I was Christian for like 2 years, the time that it took for me to baptize and do the communion. I haven't committed apostasy yet, but I'm going to do it. But just for the piece of paper, it's not important. And I committed ritual and magic apostasy when I started to follow a different religion. I did several rituals to cut my ties, the ties that I received when I was baptized and when I did the communion. So yes, most liberating thing, my own values, my own morals, not a gram of fear of hell or any other otherworldly punishment. And yeah, that's it. Also, it was technically paganism what brought me to polytheism, and being able to be polytheist the way I am is also very liberating, to have the freedom to choose a pantheon that I feel I should be loyal to, because of some reason it's actually quite liberating. My take on polytheism is all religions are and their beings are real to some degree. This means I also believe in Yahweh and in Lucifer or Satan or whatever. I don't think, for example, that God created the universe and is almighty. But yeah, so this means that I can explore different religions, different traditions, and that when some deity is not favorable to me, I can stick with the ones that are. So polytheism is also a big perk, in my opinion, of paganism. Now, about being a witch and being, as I said in a previous video, I want to consider my magical work, and this means being a witch, as a result of different ages of culture and religion. This means that my most direct environment, culturally and religiously, is what influences me the most. This means Celtiberian cultures, because religiously I am involved within those cultures. This means Greeks and Romans, because they were very, very influential in our modern culture, because of their presence here in the Iberian Peninsula. Our language derives straight from Latin, and that means also local cultures, because in case you don't know, Spain wasn't coherent nation at the beginning. It was first several different cultural areas before and during the Roman influence, and then after the conversion to Christianity we had different Christian kingdoms, and these have derived to having different languages, different cultures, different customs, and in some points of history, different history as well. So these local cultures influence me, especially those who are related to where I live. For example, I live in a region, historical region that is called Andalusia, and it has been the one that remained, for example, Muslim and Arabic for the longest in the whole peninsula. This means I'm also influenced by Asturian and Northern folk culture in general, because my grandfather was from that area. I'm also slightly interested in in the Kabbalah particularly, but just because my grandmother was the last Jewish person that was in my family on my mother's side. And this means I have an interest in Christianity as well. Because despite being raised in an atheist household, I was raised in a Catholic society to some degree. I mean, my society isn't extra religious, but you can perceive in symbols, in the history of our art, the Catholic influence. So how do I approach to that as a witch, and how I make peace with that? Well, I follow customs of what would be our santeros, which it's not like the santeros from Santeria. It's basically miracle workers and what you would deem our own cunning folk. I pay attention to local folklore and medieval witch history, and I study the customs of folk Catholicism. Folk Catholicism being customs, formulas and stuff that are indulged in Catholic myths, but they are completely blasphemous to the Orthodox Catholic Church, and they were forbidden. And they survived mainly through the rural and peasant world. So folk Catholicism and the work with saints, either saints accepted by the church or saints that were rejected by the church, by the peasants, anyway, thought they were saints and kept kind of worshipping them because of the miracles they performed in life, allegedly. That's something that I also do. The souls of purgatory, that was very important in the rural world here. And of course, Satanism and Luciferianism is a big one approach to Abrahamism from the other side, without being submitted to their morals that I find atrocious. And I mean the Christian morals, not the Luciferian morals. For me, Satan or Lucifer, it's not an evil entity. It depends. If we're talking about a folk devil, it is wilderness. It is releasing your desires. It is going back to the core of nature. If we talk about the church devil, it's still rebellion, liberation, freedom, doing your will as long as you don't hurt people for no reason. It means taking responsibility of your actions, either good or bad. So what I find liberating about being mostly a Luciferian witch, I say mostly because, as I said, I'm still influenced by my own religion, which is Celtiberian polytheism, Greek Roman religion, and of course local cultures, especially Basque culture, which has a very rich witch history with trials and stuff. And this first gives me a sense of knowledge and control. That's, of course, that would be being a witch in any cultural context. It gives me the freedom to explore the cultural layers that I'm part of or a result of, without being concealed within a very specific cultural box, as I am in my religion, which I choose to be. So it's not I'm complaining, but I have also this hunger of knowing and participating in the other religions and the other cultures of my other ancestors. And this is my way of doing it, through the practice of magic and witchcraft. And it's also liberating to be free from some of the pagan prejudices that you can as well find. Pagan prejudices such as the romanticization of our ancestors. I'm finding freedom from paganism in some aspects, because paganism is great in most things, but you can find also these not so good things. And I find liberating about being a witch as well that exactly that I can be a bit of a part of every of my ancestry, which to me is a very important thing. Is why I started in paganism, until I realized that my ancestors weren't just Celtic, and I have a bunch of ancestors from different ages, different cultures, different religions, and different lands, and I feel compelled to honor them in some ways too. So witchcraft has provided me with that, let's call it eclecticism, that or that eclectic approach that I needed. And in the end, this is translated to being a kind of orthodox polytheist on the one hand, and kind of an eclectic. It's not eclectic like everything is okay, but rather that it is okay to explore different things that maybe didn't mix historically speaking. And I have these two things that I think provides me with a sense of purpose and happiness in the end. Okay, this is being a long video, I'm sorry about that, but I needed to reply completely to what I felt was everything that needed to be replied. Tell me what you think in the comments down below. I maybe expect some backlash for saying that I accept to some degree Abrahamism, even if it's from the opposer's side, but let's see how this goes. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see each other next Wednesday. I'm Corvus Bruxo, and until next week.